Welcome everyone to the Temple of Speed. It's an ultra jam of Monza, one of the most historic circuits and iconic venues on all the motorsport history. An exciting round at the British GP last week. Now the championship moves over to Italy for another crucial chapter of the season. Last time out, it was Silverstone. It was Eric who delivered a commanding performance, converting pole position into victory with impressive pace from start to finish. And Lucas pushed hard all the way to the end, but ultimately had to settle for second place. Whilst Fireblaze behind him capitalised on a late safety car due to climb into third place and secured a valuable podium position. That means in the championship, Eric continues to lead the championship standings with 94 points, but the five behind him is incredibly tight indeed, with Sasha sits behind on 81 points, Fireblaze closing in with 68, whilst Mel's and Kick remain firmly in contention as the season begins now to gather and shift its momentum. Now we move on to qualifying. For the full qualifying segment, it is time to focus on Monza, a circuit like another, built in 2022. It's the third oldest purpose-built circuit used in Formula 1, and its reputation has always been built on sheer speed. The long straights dominate the layout, drivers run incredibly low downforce setups, and the cars reach the highest speed like anywhere else on the calendar, like back here as well. The lap here is 5.79 kilometers long and features legendary corners that has tested the drivers indeed. Like the Variante Out chicane, the Curva Grande, and the Lesmos can be a tricky part of the track as well, especially with the hot tyres and the turbulent air. But we had the old banking back in the past, but unfortunately it was doomed. It was gone because it was just too dangerous indeed. But let's see what happens in this long qualifying session. 17 drivers on the grid. My name is Jamie Morris, and alongside me is Milan Langer. This time we're switching around. He does the main comms, and I'm the co-com. So, hello Milan, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to this race indeed. Quite overcast at the moment here in qualifying, but yeah, like I said, full qualifying, so two drivers should be eliminated. Not sure if any more are joining later on in this qualifying session, but either way, we've got quite a stacked grid, to be honest, with a lot of very quick drivers. So I think the majority of the drivers should get through this first part easily, especially only having 17 drivers in the lobby at the moment, so only 2 will get knocked out. First out on track though is the Mercedes of Mels Marcus P4 in the championship at the moment, just behind his teammate, 1 point in fact, but he's already quite far off Erik, who has been quite consistent this season, putting himself now at the top of the championship, a good 13 points ahead of Sasha, and then Fireblaze I think is around 26 behind, with Mels 1 more behind. So he needs a good result, Mels, tonight. So does his teammate, but the two Mercedes drivers are looking quite strong and are in the fight as well with Red Bull. So we'll see how that fight is gonna evolve throughout this session. But first off, Q1, Mels making his way out of the Ascari chicane now. Monza, of course, the fastest track on the calendar, but also can be quite tricky with track limits in qualifying. But hopefully this first lap will be a little bit safe, just to get that lap time on the board as he comes out of the final corner, formerly called Parabolica, but I think it's renamed to Curva Michele Alboreto, in honor of the legendary Italian driver. But down the start-finish straight he comes in the Mercedes and towards the Rettifidio chicane and down into the braking zone and hitting the curb slightly on the inside, but looking quite neat on exit as well. Bit of a slide, but hasn't lost too much time. Look how close he is to the inside of the track there, as he maximizes the track width. Now down into the second chicane, and 25.7 to kick off his flying lap as he bounces over the inside, goes a bit of a dip of the wheel into the gravel on the exit, but hasn't lost too much time with that. Now through the almost identical to Lesmo corners, separated by a bit of a straight, but you want to get the best exit possible out of there, because now you will come onto the back straight, which is the second DRS zone. And we go under the bridge, under the former oval, and towards the Ascari chicane once again. Really want to attack the inside, but not too much, or he run out too wide. And I thought he ran out too wide, but apparently he hasn't got himself a track limit, so fair play to him. But he's already flirting with the track limits. But now down to the final braking zone to round off this flying lap. Looks like it is quite a good lap time indeed for Mels, as the run to the line arrives, and he will use the last bit of energy to cross the line for a 117.819, and that is quite an impressive bank lap already in the 117s.
Yeah, we know Mels Marquez can be a strong qualifier and a racer too. He has scored some podiums here, and he has taken a win too here this season in SDN as Happy Meal goes into P2. A driver yet to still try and get his first win of the season. He has been trying ever so more, has Happy Meal, as he just can't seem to get that That's a luxurious win for him as Sasha goes into P3. We saw him back at the Austin Grand Prix in USA when he was competing with his teammates at the time, which was Sasha. But Sasha in the Ferrari has got a new teammate. Some people are on the intermediate compound tyres, as we know. Some people like to use those inters because people that use the inters know they can get through qualifying easily. Remember, only 2 people will be knocked out of this qualifying session, and I don't like to bet, but I'm going to think it's possibly Reiki Yu and Thottavia. Those drivers are usually the suspects that get knocked out in Q1. Not to be harsh to them, but that's me being. I think it's called pragmatic, yeah. That's me being pragmatic and telling the truth about it. As Colin as well. So I'm interested to see which one of those 3 drivers make it through into Q2. Is it Ricky, Colin, or maybe Thottavia? Who knows? But we'll see. It could be a massive surprise too, because we don't know what the pace of Rafael like in the Ferrari. Rafael, the Spanish driver, is a new driver, so let's see how he does. But of course, he's on the intermediate compound tyres, so we won't see some tremendous pace for him. But we've got some early lap times on the board then, which is Miles Bacchus with a great lap time of a 17.8, and that is a mega lap time to be setting, considering it's the first part of qualifying here as well. Kevin Sundberg in the Alpine, remember, at the British GP, he lagged out in qualifying, and it made him retire the car. Miles Bacchus retired knowing he's safe. There's no need to gamble anymore on a new set of the soft compound tyres, so he's safe as Sasha goes up into P2 in the Ferrari. But back towards Kevin Sundberg, he got caught out in that first lap incident caused by Mark, or surprisingly, the Aston Martin got out of shape, and there was a huge pile right behind him too, just like at the British GP a couple of years ago in F1. But Kevin Sundberg got caught out. He stayed in the race to Kevin, but I think he finished in P7 or P8, I believe, at the time, maybe P6. But yeah, it was a great comeback drive despite a safety car coming in to galvanise everything and bringing everybody back together. He did finish P7 at the British GP. Finn Hurst is back in the Haas, and here he is, around the final corner with the DRS open. He's going to go up into P2 with a 17.885, so mighty close between first and second place there too. Finn Hurst, we know, is another resilient, strong driver, and he won back at the Austrian Grand Prix, keeping Kevin at bay, because I think he did the one-shot strategy, whilst Kevin Sundberg went for the alternate strategy indeed, and it was a very close call between those two indeed. But my money on this week at the Monza Grand Prix, Finn Hurst and Kevin Sundberg, is going to be an interesting one, because those two are very quick, and ETA Esports is Finn Hurst, which is a very quick team indeed, and very high level of an esports team. And Kevin Sundberg, I can't remember what esports team he's in, but he's also in a very big one as well. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how those two get along, and maybe other people like Kick as well might get involved. Kick is a very quick driver as well, and he's managed to hold off Kevin Sundberg in the past before too, but he wasn't there back at the British GP. Last season, Milan, I think it was Eric who took his first win, or maybe the season before took his first win for SDN for a long, long time. So he's quite quick around here at the Monza Grand Prix, and we'll see what he could do here in this season.
Indeed, and he's out on track as well now on the slick, so he will be trying to set a good lap time in a few moments' time. Of course, Mels and Finn both in the 117s. Finn definitely is going to be safe as well. I think he might be able to retire in pit lane as soon as he reaches the pit lane, as he makes his way down the back straight. But Erik is out on track. Lucas now as well on a set of slicks. So is Kevin and Firebase. But Kevin is on a set of hards, which is an interesting choice. Because usually you want to save the hards for the race, but for some reason he has gone for a set of hards, opting for a one stop at least. But we'll see what he's going to be able to do. If he's going to be able to make it to Q2 on that set of hards. But Fireblaze is the first one out of those drivers to start his flying lap. Of course, I don't expect him to be anywhere near the time of Mels, maybe a few tenths behind, as Jaser Green has now joined the session, so that is going to increase the grid to 18 drivers, so then 3 will get knocked out. So maybe we'll see Colin Thottavia all being knocked out, but we'll see, and Reikajuk potentially. But Fireblaze at the end of the first sector, 26.1. I think that's already a couple of tenths away from Mels. He was sitting at 25.7, I think, on his quickest lap time, so already at a 4-tenth deficit it seems for his teammate. But as long as he keeps his window wide lines, should still be safe to make it to Q2. Fireblaze is always quite a consistent driver. Might not be the outright quickest on track, but he definitely knows how to keep his window wide lines, and he's always there for the taking, like we saw last week when he picked up a podium as well at Silverstone. Now making his way through Ascari, keeping it nice and tidy so far, and now into this final sector, only 2 straights separated by this final corner. Let's see how committed he is on the turning. Quite committed there, so you really want to flick your car in to get the optimum track, the optimum grip so you don't have to worry about tire wear in qualifying. As he comes towards the finish line, Fireblaze is going to go up to P5 and 18.2. So impressive after lost quite a bit in the first sector. But Kevin, what can he do then on a set of hards as he comes towards the finish line? It's going to be an 18.5, puts him in P7. So not a bad lap at all, considering he is on a set of hards. Erik then in the Red Bull, but looks like he has backed off on his lap. But he might be able to start another one, as he's got a full battery to work with. So we'll see what he can do, as one of the McLarens is out on track as well. Kick is out on track in the Williams. His teammate Lucas currently still down in P12, making his way out of Ascar, but unfortunately he has invalidated, so he will not be able to complete this lap and get an improvement. But as long as he saves some of battery, he could try again, but I think he's a bit low on fuel. But Kick then has invalidated as well, so both Williams drivers not being able to keep their car within the white lines, and they will have to try again. One of the Ferraris in the background, that is Rafael on his outlap. Sasha Place also finding the limits of the track and exceeding them as he invalidates himself. Olijfolie in the McLaren, currently down in P11. His best lap was set on the intermediates, so should be a good improvement as well, as long as he keeps it in the white lines. As Finn Geerts now finally retires from the session as well. Definitely 117 is way good enough to make it through into the next part of qualifying. Olijfolie now gaining 2.4 seconds in the middle sector, and I think he has kept it clean through Ascari as well. So this should be a good enough lap, as he's currently 4.2 behind Mels, but he will find some more time through that Ascari chicane and this final corner as well. Doesn't really get a slipstream of his team. As Erik now goes quickest, 17.664. A very quick lap time indeed, and definitely we'll see him too into the next part of qualifying. Olijfolie crosses the line, he goes P4 with an 18.0, and that should be good enough as well. And I wonder if Kevin has done enough on that set of hards. I think not quite as comfortable as he normally is, but still, there's quite a few drivers behind him who could try and get ahead of him, so we might need to go out on a set of softs to try and improve.
JSR Green is getting a lovely tow off the back of his teammate Ollie Olav in P4. So there he is then, giving him a tow down towards the chicane we go. Let's see how he does in the first sector. 26.0 in the first sector as he cuts through the chicane. A bit hesitant, goes over the curb twice there as well. So not the cleanest and smoothest exit there for JSR Green. Lost a bit of time, but fortunately for him, did not invalidate. Maybe got unsighted or maybe distracted by the McLaren of his teammate there as well, because sometimes it can affect your preferential vision going down there too. As the DRS once again is opened up on this back straight, headed down in towards Ascari we go. We saw Kimi Räikkönen crash there back in 2008. We saw Carlos Sainz crash there as well, but unfortunately JSR Green has overstepped the boundaries a little bit too, and he has invalidated his lap time. So desperate there for a lap time is JSR Green. He joined very late in the session, but still got plenty of times to be found as well. Hattekas in the Alpine, another driver who has sort of lost his rhythm, I must say, and form. He goes up into P10 just inside of it. He's 100ths away from Sasha in P9 in the Racing Bull there. But Hattekas, I dare say as well, hasn't looked spectacularly quick this season either. And he has just been struggling in general. I think it's due to this game in general this season, or the handling, etc., or the competition being quicker. He was a mighty contender a couple of seasons ago when it was him versus Eastbound and Fireblaze. Here comes Octavian now towards the line. He goes up into P13 at 21.0, so that's definitely not good enough there. Unfortunately for the Dutchman, he's going to have to find more lap time. As Sasha plays in P9 and the Racing Bull has retired for the session, knowing that he could be saved. So what is the knockout time there? I don't actually know. Maybe a high 18, low 18. But Lucas, Mark and Kick, those drivers are definitely say that can definitely leap the frog up towards the pecking order too. On board with Lucas, headed down towards turn 1 now. He's down to the gears into second gear, hits the apex very nicely through 1 and 2. Just be patient on the throttle, but a bit too much wheel spin on the exit for turn 2 there for Lucas. Not able to get the power down without the wheels spinning up as well as he makes his way through Curva Grande, a nice flat out corner. Before we head down towards the Delaware chicane we go, 7 tenths up in the first set to try and go slow in, fast out to this corner. Very important to get your bearings right, very important to be accurate and precise as we now head towards the first Lesmo we go. Down a couple of gears into fifth, use the exit curve on the exit there as we now head towards the second Lesmo we go. Let's see how he does, not taking too much curve on the outside. DRS enabled on this back straight we go. Kevin Zunderberg In P11 is, I think, on a new set of the softcore power tyres. He is. No, he's not actually. Let's have a look. Yeah, he is on a new set of softcore power tyres. Lucas is 2 seconds up in the middle sector. So the Dutchman, all he needs to do is make it through safely inside the top 15. Of course, in F1 this year, the format is different as 60, I think it's 60 drivers make it through, and the bottom 6 get knocked out. But here goes Lucas now towards the final corner. He goes, cuts to the inside line to minimise distance, and the Williams driver makes his way towards the line. It's an 18.3, and he's safe. But when it comes to Q2, he could be on the periphery of being knocked out. Kevin Zunderberg for the first set to that. Oh, takes trouble coming to the inside there and loses the rear on the car. So a bit too greedy on the curb there for Kevin Zunderberg. And unfortunately for him, lost a bit of time with the rear axle sliding out as he now heads towards this second Lesbian we go. Takes on, oh, goes off the track like Kevin Magnussen back in 2020. When was it? 2023 or 4? I exactly can't remember, but Colin Pinto did the exact same thing as well for good measure. And I think Kevin Zunderberg has backed off. Is he on the verge of being knocked out as he goes completely straight on there as well? He hasn't got enough fuel left in the car, has Kevin, so a trip to pits is necessitated for the RP driver. But is an 18.55 safe? Can the likes of JSR Green, Colin, Mark beat that? I'm expecting Mark to do something magical, but Mark in the Aston Martin P16 is on the absolute bubble here too. He has backed off. He has made a mistake, and I don't think this is not going well at all for the Dutchman here in the Aston Martin. Mark is very quick, but like other drivers this season, he has been struggling too, so not able to find his feet of form so far here at the Italian Grand Prix, and Hadrikas has retired in the RP2. Colin is on a lap time. He's making his way towards the final corner now in the Haas. Let's see if the Dutchman is able to get through Q2. The answer is yes. He goes up into P14. Saltavia has been knocked out, but Saltavia is on an outlap then. As we make our way now towards the latter part of this qualified session, we almost come to a close. It is Saltavia, Mark, and JSR Green are the ones that are coming out. Ricky Yu is on the absolute periphery of being knocked out. Colin out there too, who just moved up into P14, needs to find a bit more time if he can, but I think qualifying may be done for him because he doesn't have enough laps to get back in the pit lane, or enough time to get back in the pit lane and go for one more lap. So that could be his qualifying done and dusted for him. It's all down to Ricky Hughes, Octavia, Mark, and JSR Green. I do believe Mark is on a flying lap. He is. He's now making his way towards Kermit Grande, and this is his potential last flying lap. He's only got one more lap of fuel in the car. This is absolutely crucial, Mark. He's 8 tenths up in the first set. So I think all he needs to do is keep it nice and clean. I think he has the pace, but look at that. A massive snap on the exit of the Variante chicane there as well for good measure as he goes off the track slightly, but luckily keeps it within the white lines as well as we make our way down towards this second Lesbian we go as the DRS once again is active. Can Mark find any more time in this middle sector as he's now making his way down towards the bridge under the hill, going towards the sky we go. He's 2.6 seconds up, a bit hesitant there, but luckily for him he did not invalidate, and I do believe that's where he made a mistake last time out as well. So luckily for him, he got out there unscathed and cleanly, but surely now for his sake he's able to get through Q2. I think he saved a bit of battery as well. He put it in medium, I think, but now he uses all the battery out of the final corner we go. Let's see if Mark can make it into Q2. He should do. The answer is yes. He goes up into P10. Kevin Zunderberg has been pushed into P14, and this is his last lap. Ricky Yu and Aston Martin, can he knock out Colin? What about Saltavia? Can he do the same thing? Saltavia is 2 tenths up in the first sector, but is it enough to challenge the guys at the front of the field? Is it enough to spook the rest of the field? He's 5 tenths up in this middle sector, but still needs to find more time because his best lap time is a 21.0, but I dare say he backed off on his previous lap. That's why it's a 21.0, but surely now Saltavia can set a much better lap time. There is 10 seconds left to go. Qualifying, and JSR Green has crashed. He is out of qualifying, and he will not make it through to Q2. That's him starting last place. Here comes Saltavia now, powering his way towards the line. He goes. It's an 18.5. He goes up into P15, and he has knocked out Colin. Where is Ricky Yu? The Belgian driver is unfortunately out of the qualifying session, and I don't think he's improving either. That could be his qualifying session done now, and unfortunately for him, another knockout. So like I predicted, Milan, it was either Colin, Ricky Yu, or Saltavia, the guys who were potentially knocked out in this qualifying session.
Indeed, as the Aston Martin comes to the line, but it is not an improvement. Misses out by 14,000 of a second, but they need to find at least, I think, a second or so to be able to beat Octavia. So he's going to be out of qualifying along with Colin and JSR Green. Let's see if Kevin is still on a lap time as he makes his way through the middle sector. Of course, he's already safe in P14, but he's still improving by around 0.3 of a second. Of course, not going to be an ideal lap time, but still could get himself inside the top 10. Just for the fun of it, as he comes through this final part of the lap. Qualifying has been concluded. He's the last driver to catch the flag. And let's see what this lap time will bring. And will it be anywhere near the times of the top drivers? I don't think he's pushed as hard on this attempt as he goes up into. Didn't quite see it, but we'll see quite soon. P7. So a decent enough lap time for Kevin. And he, of course, does make it through into the second part of qualifying. So Q1 has concluded. Erik on top by around 1.5 tenths ahead of Mels, and Rafael in P3 on debut, doing a very good job indeed, and already one of the pace setters. Finn Geerts in P4, and those 4 drivers are so far the only ones to go in the 117, so I've already got quite close in the end with an 18.0, and I know there's quite a few drivers down there who only did 1 run and might be able to do that as well. But Colin, Rekidu and JSR Green, they fall at the first hurdle. The rest of them, the entire top 15, will commence through into Q2, and then we will find out who is going to be fighting it out for pole position inside the top 10. But there's going to be we might see some shocks in Q2 because there are so many drivers who have to pace, so many quick drivers who are absolutely blistering in qualifying, but there's only going to be 10 places to make it through into Q3, and you might have like 12 or 13 drivers who are, well, eligible to get into the final part of qualifying, so you might see a few shocks of drivers not making it through while you expect them to. But 15 minutes on the clock and the entire top 15 in pit lane, but we'll start to go out soon. Ken Erik, built from his form, what a 1:17.6 on, I think, was his only lap in Q1. After I'm not sure if he invalidated his first one, but still was an impressive lap time. Can he go even quicker than that? As Happy Meal is in the chat, very welcome indeed. And we'll see what he can do in the other Red Bull. Of course, Happy Meal and Erik have some rough history in the last few weeks, but I think they resolved it, and hopefully we'll see them fighting it out for a race win once more. But it's getting quite busy out on track already. Lucas in the Williams is the first one to hit the circuit, and we'll see what he can do. Of course, he has been struggling, although last few weeks he's gone back on his form, but before that he was struggling quite often in qualifying, but good to see him back on form. And tonight it seems like he has got the pace again to at least make it to Q3. His teammate is following quite closely behind, but the two Williams first out on track, and Lucas will attempt to set a flying lap first.
Yeah, let's see how Lucas does then in this second part of the qualifying session. Like you said, he has struggled, but recently gained some ground. Although before the safety car came out, he lost time towards Erik. Erik has been an absolute flyer so far, but now with Kevin Zonnebjerg in this session and Finn Geerts, how is he going to compete against those two who are mighty quick? Erik did win the Italian Grand Prix in Monza a couple of seasons ago. I think it was Ruben who finished in P2 and Gattegas in P3 at the time as well. So let's see if he can repeat that again. Can Erik, the championship leader, doing a mighty job so far, and he has really turned things around, except Hungary. I think Hungary was a bit of a blinder for him, a blunder, sorry, as he and Happy Meal came to blows and completely wrecked the championship. But that's in the past now. Focus on the future, and the future is Lucas in the Williams. So let's see how Lucas does. Williams had a podium here, didn't they, back in 2015 with Felipe Massa, as he was a former Ferrari driver indeed. I don't think he ever won the Italian Grand Prix in the past. I don't think he did at all. But here comes Lucas down towards turn 1 we go, then down to the gears, into second gear we go, hitting the apex through turn 1 and turn 2 very nicely, flicks the car in, gets the car scooped up, back on the throttle, a bit of wheel spin. You can hear the car screaming underneath him as he puts the power down. Coming towards now the Curva Grande we go, use the battery as well to boost him along the straight, headed down in towards the second chicane we go, a 25.957 in the first sector, locks up as well, but gets away with it and continues on his way now towards the first Lesmo. Once again, taking a wide entry down to fifth gear. We saw a massive crash here, didn't we, with Lewis Hamilton back in 2009 when he smashed into the wall, and 1 year later he retired there too when he clipped, I think, a Ferrari driver, which was Massimo Alonso, and I think he lost broke his suspension too for good measure, as I think he crashed there on the last lap in 2009 where Barrichello won, and it was Rubens Barrichello's last win in Formula 1 back in 2009 in the Brawn. Let's not forget, he had 2 wins that year, Valencia and also Monza as well. While Jenson Button, his teammate, won the championship for that odd year we had in Formula 1. Completely unorthodox year as well, with the amount of changes. Oh, Lucas he saves the car. The back end of the car was just wagging its tail a bit there too, and this is going to be a 19.1. Bearing in mind though, I think some people are on the old soft compound tyres, so that probably explains why he had a lack of grip as well, and kick now goes quicker. Now Kevin Zunderberg goes quicker with an 18.7, but bearing in mind though, these lap times are not quick to these guys' standards, so I think they are on an old set of the soft compound tyres, because you don't want to go out too early on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, as Sasha goes first place with Olai in P2, smashes through the marking boards as well. Somebody's destroying the marker boards, but they're not running through it. It just mashed up on my screen, even though nobody ran through it. So that was quite odd indeed. Here comes Finn now towards the line. He goes in the Haas. He goes up into first place. That's more like you at a 70.9. So he could be on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, and already going out there as well. Whilst the track is not fully evolved just yet, it's still taking its time to ramp up. But as the qualifying session goes along, the track continues to evolve and ramp up. Mark again becoming a victim in Ascari. We see many people, I've known many people as well in the past. That's where they struggle as well in Ascari, because you want to take as much curve as you can to get the best entry point through there as well and have a really good exit. But unfortunately, taking too much curve on the entry for his own good, and therefore invalidated. He heads back in the pit lane as well. No, he doesn't. He still continues with an 18.5 surprise. He did not pit as well. But elsewhere, Happy and Eric, they're both in the pit lane, crucially, for the Red Bull team. So maybe just waited for the latter stages in qualifying to produce that lap time. Sasha plays in the Racing Bull, unfortunately has invalidated there, so he won't be going for a quick flying lap. And Rafael as well in P2, the Spanish driver, in second place, once again displays some great pace, and he becomes another Ferrari driver. Remember, we had a different Ferrari driver back at the Hungarian Grand Prix when it didn't go very well indeed, when the Vietnamese became a nuisance and the antagonist in that race and took a lot of people out as well for good measure. So hopefully that doesn't happen here, and hopefully we can see Rafael do a good job on his debut here in SDN, sorry. Octavia as well in the Racing Bull invalidates, so that's both Racing Bulls who have invalidated on their lap time as well. Back in 2008, Sebastian Vettel took pole position with a mighty lap time in the wet conditions. Sebastian Bourdais qualified in 4th place, I think, didn't he, in the Toro Rosso, but unfortunately Sebastian Bourdais stalled on the grid, I think, and I think he still raced but finished quite far back. Did he tangle with somebody like, I think it was David Coulthard? I can't remember who it was at the time, but yeah, Sebastian Vettel went on to take a sensational victory ahead of Kovalainen and Robert Kubica. That's my favourite race here in Monza, because my favourite driver is was Sebastian Vettel, and still is, and that's why the Italian Grand Prix in 2008 was my favourite. Unfortunately, Sebastian Vettel never won again in Monza in Ferrari. That's what I meant to say. He never won in Monza after that again. He did it in the Red Bull in 2011 and 2013, but he never did it in the Ferrari. He has finished on the podium before in 2015, I think, when Nico Rosberg retired due to engine problems. It was Hamilton, Vettel, Massa, and Bottas, I think. In 2016, I think they did as well with Rosberg, Hamilton, and Vettel. But both Mercedes, I think, did a different strategy than Ferrari. That's why Ferrari didn't win that year. 2017, Vettel qualified lower back. Then he finished in P3, I think. I'm not quite sure. It was Stroll and Ocon on the front row of the grid with second P2 and P3. Both Red Bull drivers had penalties due to engine problems. 2018, don't want to mention that at all, but I will do. 2018, it was Raikkonen on pole ahead of Vettel, but they both messed up. It was a big chance to win the Grand Prix, but unfortunately, Vettel tangled with Hamilton in the second chicane and caused Vettel to spin. And in that year, Vettel spun a lot, especially towards the second half of the season. It was very frustrating as a Sebastian Vettel fan, and the pain never ended. But yeah, it was so painful, especially as a Vettel fan and a Ferrari fan. You couldn't imagine the pain I went through back in those years, in 2018 and 17 and 19 as well. But yeah, it's one of the things I had to deal with. But my favourite driver's gone now. But Eric as well. Here we go then. Let's see what the Red Bull driver does. His first attempt here in Monza. This could be a new set of the soft compound tyres. Same with Happy Meal, because ideally you don't really want to go out right now on an old set. You want to be setting in those fast laps as well to make it through to Q2. This is where the pressure will kick up as well, because we know how we know how the pace is around here as well. It's just mighty competitive in Q2. All the drivers have similar pace levels as well. So this Q2 session will be more intense than Q1, with maybe surprise figures being locked out in Q2. Let's see what happens. Here comes Eric. This seems like it's a decent lap so far from the Red Bull driver as he flicks the car in towards the final corner in Parabolica. It's close to else nowadays. But here we go then towards the line. He goes. What can Eric do in the Red Bull? He crossed the line. It's going to be a 17.5. What a lap time there from the Dutchie. The man that took pole back at the British GP is back on pole again. And here we go with Happy Meal. What can he do in the second Red Bull? Here comes Happy Meal. He goes up into P3. And Red Bull currently 1 and 3 so far. Red Bull this season, Milan, have looked very strong. But unfortunately, both drivers have made a few mistakes, even tangling with each other as well this season.
Indeed they have, and speaking of mistakes, Kevin just invalidated his second run. So he's not going to be able to complete that, and he's down in P8, and he probably only has one run left to try and improve. So he might be in a little bit of trouble. But yeah, both Red Bulls, we saw them collide, I think twice at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Wasn't the best of times, but I think they recovered from it. And at least Erik is doing a well enough job at the moment, because he is once again finding himself at the top of the times and a couple of tenths ahead of Finn. In second place. Let's see what the other drivers were able to do in their runs. So see one of the Williams drivers of Lucas coming towards the finish line down in P12, currently in the drop zone. Not anymore, as he improves to P4. What about Rafael in the second Ferrari? Currently 8 tenths away from Erik, but he's on a great improvement, and he goes on to the front row, 35 thousandths of a second behind the Red Bull driver. So a great improvement indeed. What about Kick then in the other Williams? He's up by 6 tenths of a second. And he needs an improvement because he's down in P11, but he goes up to P6 just behind his teammate. Maybe not where he wants to be, but still putting himself inside the top 10 is the most important thing at the moment. Mel's down in P11 right now, but he is up by 9 tenths of a second through sector 2, so he could put himself up to the second row ahead of Finn Geerts if he pulls off this final sector well. As well as he comes out of the final corner, goes the Mercedes driver, and he is going to go on to P3, just under a tenth of a second away from Erik. So a great lap indeed, and Erik, Rafael and Mel's definitely safe to make it through into the final part of qualifying. But after that, it is quite close and quite sketchy as well. Sasha unfortunately has invalidated as well in the Ferrari, so he's going to have to come back into the pit, and he hasn't got enough fuel to do another lap on this set of tires. So a few drivers currently in the drop zone or in the danger zone who still need to find an improvement. Kevin now down in P11, but he's going out immediately, probably with a bit more fuel as well, so he can at least do 2 laps if he makes a mistake or invalidates once again on his initial run. I think it's about 4 minutes left in the session, so he should have enough time to do that. His teammate Geiteka still in P12. Mark, who we saw make quite a few mistakes already in his qualifying session in Q1, went off twice, just about made it through, and in his initial run in Q2 invalidated once again through Ascari. But he's back out on track in the Aston Martin, and he will try to improve on that. What is Finn doing in the Haas? He makes his way out of the first chicane. I don't think he really needs to improve on this lap, but definitely can't hurt to try and improve. So just to be sure that you're absolutely safe to make it through into Q3, because it can be quite tight, especially around a track like this. And he's up by 1/10 of a second already to start off his flying lap. Of course, he's 4 tenths away from Erik, and I think his first one must have been set on a used set of softs as well. So he should be able to find some time as well. Running out a little bit wide out of Les Mans 2, but just within track limits is all he needs as he opens the DRS towards the Ascari chicane. Can be so tricky as he improves now by 2 tenths of a second in the middle sector, and just about keeping it between the white lines through the Ascari chicane. Can he find 2 more tenths to put himself back on provisional pole position ahead of Erik? Or will he have to settle for P2 or P3? It's so close between the top 3. Can he put himself in between the 3 of them as he comes out of the final corner in the Haas, the only remaining Haas in this qualifying session? And he is going to go and stay in P4. He lost a little bit of time in the final sector, and he's just under 2 tenths of a second behind Erik. Mark so far has kept it clean on his lap, but Ascari is upcoming. Can he keep it within white lines? Hasn't been able to do that in Q1 or Q2 so far. And once again finds himself running over the white line, and that is another track invalidation at Ascari for the Dutchman, who is going to have to try again. Not sure if he's got the time to do so. He's backing off immediately to save the battery to try again on the same set of tires, because he probably doesn't have enough time to go back into the pit lane and go out again, as Olivo is up on a lap and he's up by 2.5 tenths, but he invalidates as well. Unfortunately, so many track invalidations here in qualifying so far. Kevin has kept it clean out through Ascari, so he should be able to improve on this lap time, as there's 2 minutes to go in Q2. Currently, he needs around a tenth or two of a second to get himself inside the top 10, but I think he's up on an improvement way more significant than that, as he comes out of the final corner in the Alpine. What is this lap time going to bring him? He goes up to P5, and that is safe to see him through into Q3.
I went to a ball with Olai. He's retired. Olai is retired in the pit lane, so he's definitely in the danger zone and on the wrong side of it, unfortunately, because Fireblaze will definitely improve. Khatakas maybe in P12. We've seen Khatakas have been knocked out in Q2 before as well, so he's a question mark. And Mark, once again, really scruffy exit out of the second chicane there, the Valiente Alta. So unfortunately for him, not the Valiente Alta, sorry, the Delos chicane. I think Valiente Alta is in. Oh, Mark spun, he's hit the wall. Ooh. And that's his qualifying session done and dusted. He's retired on the track. Mark is driving in frustration. He can't seem to get the lap time hooked together. It is a short track, but unfortunately for him, too many corners to go with it. Lucas, however, is out there. I think he's in danger zone possibly, but Fireblaze down there in P11 is on the final lap too. He's 6,300 down in the first sector. Is Lucas as he mounts the curbs going in towards the second chicane. He goes. Let's continue in this lap time as well. Lucas wrestles the car in the first Lesmo. I was on board with Hertz on his final lap. He was off board, but when he tackled Ascari, he flicked it in so aggressively as well, using every single part of the track, and he really finessed that car through Ascari as well, tried to find a lot more lap time. He took it as wide as possible going through there as well, even on the grass at one point. But Lucas, that's the way you want to do it in Ascari, taking a lot of curve, be precise, be accurate through there, and he has exactly done that too. It's all about finding the margins and the limitations around the circuit. Halfmill is out there too in the Red Bull, but what's Lucas going to do in the Williams as he now makes his way through Parabolica, as he goes a little bit deep in the corner there? But let's see if that's lost him any time. Here comes the Williams down towards the line. He goes up into P6 ahead of Happy Meal, but Happy Meal is coming through the second chicane. He goes, but on board with Fireblaze. Where's Fireblaze gone? Fireblaze is in P11, but about across the line. Sasha goes up into P4 in the Ferrari, but let's see what Fireblaze does in the Mercedes. Fireblaze goes up into P6, and the Dutchman is inside Q2. The man that's on the podium as well a couple of times this season. His last win was at the Japanese Grand Prix last season when he was tussling away with Happy Meal. But where is Happy Meal? He's in P9 as the Red Bull driver, coming through Ascari, threading the needle through there as well. Khatakas has just made it in, but I dare say the Dutchman will be kicked out of qualifying, because I think Kick is out there. Kick is coming towards the final corner right now, same with Happy Meal. So I think Kick might go up the order, same with Happy Meal. Here comes the Williams driver, goes up into P7 ahead of Kevin Zunderberg. Here comes Happy Meal towards the line. He goes up into P8 behind, ahead of Kevin Zunderberg. And Lucas, I think he is safe. Yes, he is, because the guys behind, like Olai, Octavia and Khatakas, are not improving. But look at that. Kevin Zunderberg was almost knocked out in Q2. And he's P9, and Lucas too, so they're in danger. And like I said, there's quite a few surprises, but Rafael in P2, the rookie driver, the Spanish driver, is doing such a solid job. And let's keep reminding everybody too, because he's done such a wonderful job on debut too. But can he complete the job in Q3? That's the most important question. Now we move on to Q3, everything resets. Like I said in the British GP, when it comes to short qualifying, I like it better because you can constantly do lap times all the time. But when it comes to long qualifying, the pressure is on, because the lap time resets. Nobody has a lap time. As we get through each session, the pressure is more and more high now, because you've got to deliver every single lap under pressure. Try and keep consistent as well, and one small mistake can define your whole qualifying and race too. You may be quick in Q1 and Q2. You may be a driver who's on it immediately in Q1 and Q2, but you've got to repeat it, you've got to mirror it into Q3 as well. So let's see which drivers do mirror it and see who do nail it on their final laps in Q3. But so far, it's the Dutchman of Eric, who's been on form since last week at the British GP. He has done such a remarkable job. What could it have been back in Hungary when he made those mistakes as well? But hopefully for Eric's sake, he put that in the past. And Mels Backus as well, he's returned back after a 2-week spell. He's back up into P3.
Great qualifying so far from both of them. Indeed, the Alpine of Geitenkaas unfortunately gets knocked out. His teammate just about makes it through, and Kevin not really looking as confident as he usually looks in qualifying and seems to be struggling a little bit so far as he found himself down in P9, just 2 tenths shy of getting knocked out in Q2. But unfortunately, it was his teammate who did not make it through. But we'll see what he's going to be able to do. But I think it was the top 10 separated by around 3 tenths of a second. He did so incredibly close, and you really cannot afford a single mistake in this final part of qualifying. It's going to be all or nothing for all of these 10 drivers, and all these 10 drivers are definitely quick enough to put their car on pole position, as they all have immense speed in qualifying. But only one of them can take away that pole position. But Erik, like you said, he has been looking incredibly strong so far, as he was quickest in Q1, quickest in Q2, although both sessions only by a few hundredths of a second, but still, he is the man to beat at the moment, and he is going to go out quite soon as well. First out on track, I think once again, is Lucas. Yes, he is, like he was in Q2 as well. So the Williams exiting the pit lane for their first runs now. I do expect some of these drivers at least to do their first runs potentially on a used set, as some of them already having to use quite a few sets of softs through Q1 and Q2, so these first lap times might not be representative compared to the times that we saw at the end of Q1 and Q2, but we'll just have to wait and see to see what those lap times will be. Right behind him is the Red Bull of Happamil, who has got on track. Sasha in P6. Sasha usually is quite quick around Monza. So far hasn't been able to prove himself in qualifying at least, but I think he is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the race as well, as he normally finds himself quite successful around the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. But we'll see what he's going to be able to do in this qualifying session. Then it's Kevin, who's out on track as well immediately now. Which one of these drivers will find themselves invalidating, because we've seen it so many times so far in qualifying, just exceeding the white lines by just a little bit too much, and it will completely ruin your lap time, and you will just have to try again. So Lucas then making his way down the back straight and towards the final braking zone to line up to start his first flying lap in Q3 with just over 10 minutes on the clock. The Williams exiting the Parabolica and going across the start-finish line with the DRS open and using some battery as well, as he charges his way down to the braking zone of turns 1 and 2. I think the slowest part of the track, this first chicane, the Red Video chicane, and looking quite clean through there. Of course, always struggling with traction. I think everyone will on the exit. Just want to get the power down as soon as you can. Just always will hear a bit of a wheel spin on the exit. Now heading towards the second chicane, where it's a bit more tricky and a bit quicker as well, with the curbs on the inside. So those sausage curbs really can throw your car off a balance if you just hit it at the wrong angle. He can be sent into the reverse wrap on the outside, but he has managed it cleanly then through Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. Lesmo 2 is usually the one where people find themselves running just a little bit too wide and finding themselves invalidating. But Lucas keeps it within the white lines once more, opening the DRS towards the Ascari chicane, another corner, which is quite tricky in qualifying. But he managing it well so far. Right behind him is Happamil, also looking quite quick so far. But we'll see what he is going to be able to do. As Lucas now will come towards the final corner. We'll see what the lap time will be. If it's going to be in the 117s or if he is on a used set of softs, as he comes out of the Parabolica chicane using the last bit of energy towards the finish line. It's going to be an 18.234 to kick off Q3. And Happamil definitely is on the used set with an 18.7. What about Sasha then? In the Ferrari, he is going to go to an 18.0, but still not quite where you want to be. So that indicates to me that the majority of these drivers are on a used set of soft compound tires. Kevin comes out of the final corner as well, as will he get under the 118 mark? Not quite, 18.1 for the Alpine driver. Erik behind him just starts his flying lap. Then it's the Mercedes of Fireblaze who goes quickest with a 17.8. Quite a good lap time indeed, but we have seen quicker so far in qualifying. Rafael is going to start his flying lap as well, as Finn is now at the end of his flying lap. Someone who's also been quite quick so far in this qualifying session. We'll see, is he on a used set? Will he get ahead of Fireblaze on his initial run? It's going to be 1:17.491, and I think that's the quickest we have seen so far in this qualifying session. Great lap indeed for the Haas driver. Here comes Mels. He goes second with a 17.5, but what can Erik do in the Red Bull as he makes his way through the middle sector?
Eric's made a big mistake. He ran across the chicane in the second chicane. That's why he lost the lap time. That's why he's no longer on a flying lap either. So that's a big setback for Eric. How is that going to affect his confidence on his next run? Maybe this could be a old set of soft compound tyres. You think it'd be new because the amount of pace he had in Q1 and Q2. You think you have two sets, but we don't know. Happy Meal is back in the pit lane, definitely on an old set of the soft compound tyres. But Rafał and Kick are on their flying laps. What can Kick do in the Williams? Here comes the Williams Dutch driver. Head towards the line now. The former champion of SDN goes up into P7 and just ahead of Happy Meal behind his teammate of Lucas, the man that went skiing last time in Austria. He had an amazing time in Austria skiing as well, but he's back here in racing today in Monza. What can Rafał do? Can he spoil the party? Can he make a statement on his debut here? The Spanish driver looking very good so far. He could be Dutch, but I'll never know. His flag does say Spanish. But here comes the Spanishman coming out of the final corner. Let's see, what can he do? He crosses the line, goes up into P2. What a mega lap time. Beats Mel's by 2/1000 of a second there. There's RMF Rafał in P2. What a great lap time indeed from the Ferrari driver, helping, well, he's definitely making Tifosi proud. But Eric, he's 800s up in the first set, so he's going for a second lap time on the same set of a soft compound tyre, but he dips a wheel in the gravel there, and that could cost him dearly as well. He's really wringing the neck of that Red Bull as he's trying to overdrive it possibly as well to try and get more lap time. That's what happens in Q3. Sometimes you just overdrive the car, trying to excel, trying to find more time if you can. But now let's see what he does in this little set. It's going to be a 51.5, obviously 3 seconds quicker compared towards his best. But look at that, using all the curve on the outside of Ascari as well, leaving no crumbs on the table as he heads down towards the back straight. We go then, reaches speeds about 330 kph, 210 miles an hour as we head down in towards Parabolica we go. Nice exit there as he now makes his way out the final corner towards the finish line. He goes. What can Eric do in the Red Bull? It's a 17.5 still, and it goes up into P2. What a mega lap time there for Eric as well. So despite that mistake, he hasn't let his confidence dip down, and certainly put the wrongs to right there, especially on his last flying lap when he made a big mistake jumping over the chicane like that as well. Probably broke himself and couldn't make the corner. But Eric is back on the front row. But a big surprise for me is Finn Hertz in P1. The biggest shocker for me is Kevin Zunderberg. His pace has pretty much dipped in this qualifying session because we know he has big margins over the rest of the field there, but it's finite margins at the top end of the field with Finn Hertz on pole ahead of Eric in P2. And also a bigger surprise for me is Rafał in P3, but we don't know what Rafał's race pace is like as well until we reach the races. So let's see how he does in the race. Hopefully he's a clean driver, a cool driver on his head, and hopefully doesn't get himself in too many kerfuffles either in the race. So a quiet moment in this qualifying session whilst every single driver makes their way back in the pit lane. Eric, of course, out of sync because he went out he did his second lap on the same set of the soft compound tyres, so hence why he's out of sync, and he is now heading his way back in towards the pit lane. He was on pole last week at the British GP, but this time it's in second place. It was Lucas in P2 and Christian in P3. Christian is done in P10. Happy Meal in the Red Bull, so not the best qualifying so far for Vessel's joined and JSR Gree's joined. Vessel is here. The PSGL F3 driver is here. Let's see what he does then. I think he's the ILT driver or something like that. So Vessel has joined the session, and I think Vessel almost won the Baku Grand Prix PSGL, I think last week. I think he just missed out. I think he was on the old mini compound tyres. I think he finished on the podium that day too. But Vessel is here, and he qualified for first place in Baku. But unfortunately for him, in Monza, he will start at the back of the field with JSR Green. JSR Green did not rage quit. He probably left the session and did whatever he did, because sometimes I know what it's like to be knocked out in Q1, and I usually leave the session too and go for a drink. But Happy Meal is the first driver then to make his way out of the garage, and we'll see what the Red Bull driver could do. And he hasn't had a win just yet this season, Milan. He's still searching for that lucrative first win, but just seems to be too far too soon and just not able to piece everything together to get his first win, whether it's mistakes, consistency, the strategy slip up because he was double stacking behind Eric in Silverstone, contact with his own teammate, contact with others, just a lot ahead, especially in the last couple of races too. What does he need to do to try and get his first win of the season? He was so close with Fireblaze at the Japanese Grand Prix. That's the closest he's been so far against Fireblaze, but Fireblaze sent it down the inside in towards 1 and 2 with a superb move to take the lead of the race, and Happy Meal was so close. But the Dutchman needs to keep calm, keep consistent, keep composed, and the first win is definitely coming, like I said, plenty of times as well. It's like a Mark Webber situation when it took him a very long time to win a race as well, when Webber won at 2009 at the German Grand Prix. But Happy Meal then is about to make his first flying lap happen. Valtteri Bottas, I think, took about over 80 races to get his first win in Russia 2017, and Nico Rosberg took about 111 races, I think, in 2012. I think it's 2012 in the Chinese Grand Prix. But here we are then on board with Happy Meal. Every other driver is come out as Happy Meal wants to do maybe 2 laps just in case he validates his first lap time as he heads now towards the end of the first sector. It's going to be a 25.8. He's 2/10 over the first sector, but of course that's his reference point towards his best lap time, which is an 18.766 on his old set on the soft compound tyre. He flicks the car in, coming towards the end of the first and second left. There we go. Let's see how he does through here. The car's pointed in, really nicely tucked up underneath him as well, as the DRS is active on the second straight. A former Division 2 champion is Happy Meal, but still yet to take a win in Division 1. 5/10 of the first sector, but this is not enough. Happy Meal needs to find more time in the last sector. He just flicked and hesitated going towards Scari too, so they're not really the lap he needs so far, unless he can find more time in the last sector, which is doubtful, but we'll see what Happy Meal could do as he flicks the car in, going towards Parabolica right now. He exits the final corner. What lap time can Happy Meal do? The first driver has crossed the line now in this session. He goes up towards P5 with a 17.773, and he splits both Mercedes Milan.
Good lap time indeed, but will it be enough? Does he have enough time? I don't think he has to go for another lap, so that might be it for the Red Bull driver. But everyone else is out on track, and it's about to get very interesting indeed. Kevin Zonneberg is the first one, besides Happy Meal, to start his final flying lap, currently down in P8, and needs a good improvement to put himself up there, as it's quite busy now in the final sector, as they all prepare for their final runs, as the Alpine makes his way through turns 1 and 2 quite cleanly indeed so far. Needs about 0.7 of a second to be able to beat Finn Geert, but Kevin hasn't really looked any strong so far in this qualifying session, so he needs somewhat of a miracle on this final lap. He's up by 1.5 tenths though through sector 1 as he hits the inside curb a little bit too much, I think, on the entry of the first of the 2 corners in that chicane. But he probably hasn't lost too much time with that, but it certainly doesn't help on this flying lap as he hits the inside curb as well there through Lesmo 2. DRS now open, and a bit of ERS usage as well down this back straight. We'll see how much he's found in the middle sector. It is 0.4 of a second, 4.5 tenths. He's up in the middle part of this lap. Will it be enough though? He needs 2.5 more tenths in the final part to be able to beat the Haas driver of Finn Geert, who's on the lap as well, as the Alpine comes towards the final corner. High commitment, but he goes a little bit deep, but not too deep it seems, as he comes towards the finish line, running tight to the inside. Kevin is gonna go up until P5 only for the Alpine driver. Good improvement, but not good enough to break inside the top 4. What about Finn Geert then? Currently on provisional pole position. Can he try and improve on that? Can he go even quicker than his 1:17.4 as he runs towards the line? It's going to be 17.402. Great improvement. Mels has invalidated Fireblaze. He goes up into P6. What can Erik do? Can he get back ahead of the Haas driver? No, he can't. Misses out by a few hundredths of a second, with a 17.4 as well. Then we look at the 2 Ferraris. Sasha is up by 0.3 of a second, but that is not going to be enough. He goes P3 though. What about his teammate Rafael? Is second place, 27 thousandths behind. Kick then goes P4, and we just wait for Lucas, who has invalidated and will be down in P10. So it's going to be Finn Geert on pole position here at the Italian Grand Prix. He has denied the perfect run for Erik, who was quickest in Q1 and Q2, but it couldn't quite make it work in the final part of qualifying. But Finn Geert, he is on pole position, and the rookie Rafael on the front row, lining up alongside him, as he is a very great lap time indeed from him, and very impressive. Erik then in P3, a couple of hundredths away. Then it's Kick in P4. Look how close it is between the top 4. 7/100 separating them. Sasha in P5. Mels Makkes in P6. Unfortunately couldn't improve. Kevin starts down in 7th place. A bit lower than we would expect from him. Fireblaze in P8. Happy Meal in P9, who went out of sync. And Lucas starts down in 10th place in the second Williams. But it is the top 9 within 0.4 of a second. So incredibly close here at Monza, and this should shape up for a very, very entertaining race as well. Of course, Monza is known for its DRS trains, especially it's not too easy to overtake. Of course, well, you've got quite a few hard braking zones and a few DRS zones, but when you're in that DRS train, it can be quite tricky. So you have to play it strategically as well. So normally you would say a medium to hard strategy or other way around. Definitely it's going to be a one-stop around this venue as well. But we've got 19 drivers now lined up as JJ Green and Wessel both rejoined. Of course, JJ Green did attempt to qualify in Q1, but unfortunately made a mistake and then left him, but he rejoined. And Wessel starts in P19. We'll see what he can do in the Kick Sauber. Could go for a little bit of a last two challenge, but now we can prepare ourselves for the race. And Erik then starts in P3, our leader in the championship. Needs to outperform Sasha, who is a couple of positions behind him. But here we go already for the Italian Grand Prix.
I just made it back again like I did the British GP, but here we go then. We are underway for the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza. It's a long run down towards turn 1. The Haas goes defensive to cut through off Rafael as we head down towards the first break. There we go. The Ferrari's on the inside going down in towards the first corner. But Eric's a bit late to the brakes there as well. The Red Bull trying to get involved in the action too against the Ferrari driver. But the Haas remains in the lead. It is Finn Hertz who leads this Grand Prix ahead of Rafael. And Eric is right behind the Ferrari too. He's looking at three abreast in the background. A Sasha kick and Mel's back. It's all three of them going three abreast down towards the 6-checker chicane we go. Look at Eric going left to right. Look at the Ferrari down the inside there. Oh, almost makes contact. There's contact with the Mercedes and the Ferrari too. Sasha has fallen down into P8. What a dramatic start here as all the drivers here barging each other out of the way too for good measure. It's been a dramatic first lap already between these guys. Sasha outbroke himself defending from kick and Mo's Makis too, and Sasha has fallen down into P8 behind Kevin Zuckerberg as well for good measure, but it's still Finn Hertz who leads this race ahead of Rafael in P2. Eric's in P3. He tried to make a move on the Ferrari ahead of him, going left and right, but the Ferrari's defensive skills were great and managed to defend in second place. But all 20 drivers or 90 drivers are still winning in this race. Where's Wessel? Wessel is up to P15. He's right behind or got past Faker U. So now the Kick Sauber driver has moved up into P14, and let's see how his progress does. The only Kick Sauber driver in this race, so we're missing Kick Sauber drivers in this race. Ticey and Mum and Nick are not here, so luckily for Kick Sauber there is a driver here too. But DRS now is enabled. The first lap has been concluded, as we see Happy Meal right behind Sasha. When he go for a move, Sasha covers the inside line. Happy Meal trying to go around the outside. There's contact in towards turn 1, but luckily enough not to go into a spin either, as the drivers then make their way out to turn 1 and turn 2 we go. It is then Finn Hertz who leads the Grand Prix on the hardcore power tyres, Milan. So he's gone for the ultra strategy, and Mel's Makis is right behind Kick for good measure. Let's see what he does going down in towards the chicane, but for him he's too far back.
That explains then the better launch that Rafael got to try and go up the inside of Finn Geert. He starts on the hards and will have to suffer a bit of a traction disadvantage, but it's impressive for him to maintain that lead of this race, and he's one of only 3 drivers to start on the hards alongside Wessel and Reiki Zhu, but they're down in P14 and 16 at the moment in no real fight for the race. But Finn Geert then leads. The 2 Mercedes on the charts, both having gained positions from the start and now in P5 and P6, but it's a long DRS train all the way towards Sasha, as JJ Green's the first driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty and losing a position as well in the process to Wessel. 6 positions gained for the reserve driver for Kick Sauber, 19th to P13. Can Rafael try and go for a move on Finn Geert as he's closing the gap towards the Haas driver with the help of DRS, and ERS is going to pull to the inside, and on his debut Rafael takes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. Look at the gap forming between Erik and Kick, but Kick is able to close that gap once again in the braking zone, as behind there was Mels getting a little bit too deep in towards turn 1, but is able to stay within DRS range of everyone ahead of him as well. And it's Fireblaze in P6. Kevin has stayed in P7. Has been struggling so far here at Monza, but he is doing a good enough job to stay in that fight in the leading train. Sasha then, of course, we saw that moment on the opening lap, losing a couple of positions after he half spun out of that Delaware chicane. He's down in P8, so he's going to have to go for a little bit of a comeback drive. Does the Ferrari driver, as Olivodi and JJ Green are fighting out of 2 McLarens. Olivodi going forwards, JJ Green rather backwards, of course. JJ Green started out in P18, so he had a good start, as Mark has once again found the wall on the exit of last month 2, did in qualifying, and he's done it in the race again. Now picking up front wing damage, and his day has become even worse for the Aston Martin driver and dropping down to P19 as well. So Mark really not comfortable here at Monza, it seems. But at the front it is Rafael in the lead, 6 tenths ahead of Finn, then Erik, and Kik is not within DRS range anymore. And he is going to be trying, Mels is going to try and get past him, but Mels is struggling with the battery as well. So up ahead, Erik now goes ahead of Finn Geerts in towards turn 1 as Mels and Kik go side by side, but Kik knows he doesn't want to fight that because there's a gap they want to bridge towards the top 3, but I fear that it's too late for that. And we might already see the fight for lead become a 3-way fight between Rafael, Erik and Finn, because the gap's now 1.8 seconds towards Mils Marcus in P4, and it's really difficult to close the gap here at Monza when you're not in a DRS zone and the 3 cars ahead of you are. But he is trying though, as the gap's now down to 1.2 seconds, but at the moment it's not quite enough to get the DRS for the back straight. But at the moment he is doing a good job to try and bring that gap down, so he might be able to do so in the next few laps, but it is going to require some good ERS management from the Mercedes driver. Kik is now following him, far less than in P6. Then Kevin and Sasha still following, as the other Sasha gets ahead now of JSR Green to go up to P15, but he himself now finds himself with a gap to reach. It's the second 3-second time penalty for the McLaren driver. Really struggling in this race. But at the front it is Rafael ahead of Erik and Finn Geerts, and once again a 1.7 second gap now towards Mils.
Done a job for Hertz in P3 that he knows that he doesn't need to fight these two immediately, especially on the hard compound tyres. He's playing the long-term game. We see Erik now crawling over the back of the Ferrari driver. He backs off the tyre, but he's not going to go for the move just yet. He's in a really good spot now to try and dictate this race in first and second place, because usually first and second place can swap around a lot as well and control the lead of the race, because they're trying to bridge the gap over the guys behind now, because there's been a field spread, because Miles Makis has lost the DRS, or should I say Kik lost the DRS there. Miles Makis had to overtake him and try and bring that gap down, but Kik's longevity pace unfortunately is not there tonight in the Williams, and he lost that connection, and now under pressure from Fireblaze right behind too. So 2 former championship contenders, Fireblaze and Kik, who were tatted in season 1, 2 and 3 as well. These two were massive rivals in the past. They used to go against each other, but now they're friends. They've sorted out their past rivalry as well. I remember when I first joined this league, these two were going after each other, and they used to be always in argument with each other, because there was like a conspiracy against Fireblaze, where every single driver was working against Fireblaze, but now they're all friends, and all seems to be getting along as well for good measure. But Fireblaze is behind then his old championship rival Kik. The man that's got the most championships here in SDN is Fireblaze, the 2-time champion of season 1 and 2. And then it was Mike in season 3, I think, then Kik in season 4, Eastbound season 5, and Kevin Zonnenberg in season 6. But in season 7, it's a question mark, it's an enigma. We don't know, because there's many players in this lobby that could be the champion. But it all depends, so keep it nice and tidy and make sure to make no mistakes in this championship that's very competitive indeed. As we see Erik on the back there of Rafael as well. Where did he come from? It's because we've never seen it before. I've never seen it before in League Race. He could be under the name of somebody else that we used to know, but I've never seen it before, and he's doing such a solid job as well. So whoever brought in Rafael has done such a good job to find somebody at the same pace as these guys, and hopefully he's clean and consistent. We have seen him clean so far, but we know towards the latter part of the race where everything's spiced up and all the pride and egos off the table, as Olai is rather hard behind Khatakas as we go down towards the second chicane we go. But Olai too far back to make a move on Khatakas, and Vessel now, he moved up about 6-7 places up into P12, but unfortunately for him, he's stuck in that DRS train. Yes, he's on the hard compound tyres, so more durable tyres towards this part of the race, and he's hoping that the mini compound tyres start to fade away now, so that means he can make his move later in the race too. Miles Makis though in P4 is starting to claw back some time and bring this DRS train back together, try and bring everybody compact and back together again. So it's one big DRS train. Miles Makis somehow has managed to bring that gap down under a second, but at the same time though, he's obliterated a lot of his battery, and the guys ahead have got a sufficient amount of battery as well, so he's had to sacrifice his battery to get himself within that DRS range as well. That's the problem as well when you break the DRS train. Kevin Zonnenberg has lost the DRS at the back of Fireblaze. That Dutchman is really struggling as well for good measure. As we see Erik now side by side with Rafael, he now takes the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time in this race, as we see Sasha get ahead of Kevin Zonnenberg. Kevin Zonnenberg, last season champion, the man that had 10 wins and a couple of sprint wins too for good measure. He has really suffered and fell backwards, so he's been on the back foot ever since qualifying. He hasn't looked very strong so far in this qualifying session or the race either, so he has struggled. He's been on the back foot, maybe not a particular great circuit for him, maybe the lack of practice as well, because we know Kevin Zonnenberg, when he does practice, he really puts in those performances and good results as well. But you can see him there just so the car just seems so sluggish for him. Just doesn't seem to have the grip underneath him, and just seems to be losing time and pace. Look at that. Sasha, at that part of the track, gains a few tenths as well. Kevin Soderberg is really struggling in the Alpine as well. Maybe he's got some more downforce in the car, and that's why he's struggling too. His straight line speed hasn't been sufficient, as Mark has picked up a penalty and retired in the pit lane. What a shame for Mark. He's just been a bad season so far, let's just admit, for Mark. Hasn't had a podium win yet this season, hasn't really had the results. I know he's a really quick driver. I've seen him before, but I just can't seem to puzzle the pieces together and get everything he needs. But Vessel is now up into P11, so he must have overtaken Octavia on the last lap, or Hatikas as well, and now he moves himself into 11th place. Watch out for Vessel. He could be a factor in this race, and he could be involved in the mix too. So he could be on the foot there as well in P11. But Kevin Soderberg though has got himself back into the US range of Sasha, and here comes Rafael. Will he make a move going down in towards turn 1? Nope, he backs out of it, but Kick as well. Kick is struggling once again in P5 in the Williams too, and if you have a lot of downforce on the car, it won't help you whatsoever. Maybe help you in the corners and the tyres, but in terms of general speed, you don't have that. Sasha and Hatigas go side by side through turn 2. They're tagging wheels as well, as Hatigas then moves up into P13, or tries to defend from Sasha Plays, because Sasha Plays, they both depleted their batteries and got none left, but Sasha with a straight line speed is side by side with Jens as we head down towards the chicane. We go, the wheel to wheel, side by side between those two. Barely a quarter given, but there's contact, and Hatigas always lost the car. There's more contact. He's in the wall. Oh, what a shame there for Hatigas as well. I'm not quite sure if somebody behind him made contact, he lost it by himself thanks to Sasha Plays. But remember when Antonio Giovinazzi and Carlos Sainz made contact in 2021 there, and it ended the race too. What a shame for Hatigas. His race ends prematurely. He's down in P17 and way backwards as well. Sasha in P7 is struggling as well to stay with the DRS race, but so far so good for Eric and Rafael in first and second place. The pit starts will be imminent very soon, so watch out for these people pitting. That you don't want to go on a two-star strategy. Fireblaze knows this, because Fireblaze lost a race in a different league due to going on a two-star strategy, and Kick too. Kick was the pulsar of that league, and they both lost it as they went for a two-star strategy because they lost too much time and couldn't make up the deficit towards the end. And Kevin Zumberg now moves up into P7 again ahead of Sasha, so those two are falling backwards in this train. But yeah, Fireblaze and Kick, they know that two-star strategy will not work around here. It just lose too much time and you can't make it back up. So they know the one-star strategy is the main norm around here, and that'll set up the races too. But what can Fireblaze and Kick do? Because Fireblaze is always there somehow in P6. The quiet, silent assassin is in P6. The man that always gains places every time somebody in front of him drops out as well. He's super consistent, super calm, super composed. This is Fireblaze. He may not be the aggressor or the attacker, but he's always co-conservative and so consistent and fluent as well in races. You barely see him make a mistake now and then, but he's a solid driver, his Fireblaze. You can always rely on him every single time you league race, can you, Milan?
Indeed, you can. Very consistent indeed, and you know he's always up there for the taking, as Kevin really struggling behind as he was getting sideways out of Lesmo one. His teammate has unfortunately retired from this race, Geitegas, after that collision there with I think Sasha in the middle part of the lap, and he finds himself out without any points alongside Mark. But Kevin now has dropped to 1.5 seconds behind Fireblaze, and I think Sasha will try and get back ahead of him, but Kevin is going to pull into the pit lane, and he's not the only one to do so. Fireblaze as well going for the undercut. Happy Meal, Lucas also all into the pit lane as well as we go on to lap 10. So quite an early pit stop for some of these drivers, but they're going for the undercut because they know how difficult it is to overtake when you're in a DRS train. As Olijvodi into the pit lane as well. Colin will continue on, so Fireblaze will come out on track in P12. Octavia pitted on the previous lap. I'm not sure if he's going to gain some positions with that undercut. As Fireblaze, Kevin, Happy Meal and then Lucas come out of the pit lane in P12, 13, 15, 14 and 15 respectively. And then Octavia just ahead of Olijvodi. But now the question will be, are there going to be drivers responding to that? Because you don't want to be staying out too long and find yourself in a very bad position. A track position can be quite important around here as well, because overtaking in a DRS train can sometimes be near enough impossible. So will the front runners respond to that, or will they keep extending this stint so they have the best tire life at the end of this race? Erik in the lead ahead of Rafael, then Finn Geerts, as Kevin has picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and his race has become even worse for the Alpine driver. He also finds himself well outside the DRS range of Fireblaze, but let's see, is anyone going to pull into the pit lane? Yes, Erik is going to pull into the pit lane in the Red Bull. Rafael follows him in as well, so does Mels and Kick. and Sasha. So all of the drivers who started on the mediums are pitting now as well. So Lucas picks up a reaching a time penalty as well. Wessel will continue on, of course. He started on the hards. Sasha entered the pit lane as well, and I reckon Colin will go there as well. But we'll see. Where is Erik going to come out? Where is Rafael going to come out? Compared to Fireblaze, they should be able to still cover off the Mercedes. But I think Fireblaze might end up being in a virtual P3 position after that. Or will he be behind his teammate? I think he's just ahead of Mels. Yes, he is. So Fireblaze, with quite a handy undercut, finds himself now right at the back of Rafael and just ahead of his teammate Mels. And in the background they're going side by side between Hapmil and Kick being forced a little bit into the grass there on the exit, as Hapmil, well, using his shoulders to get past the Williams driver, now finds himself inside the top 10. Of course, there's still 4 drivers who haven't made their pit stop yet. Colin is now holding up this entire train, to the anger of Erik, who is unable to get past him through the Lesmos, and still losing a bit more time here as well, and that is helping Finn Geerts actually. So Colin is helping his own teammate with holding up these drivers, as Erik is now finally able to clear the Haas driver, and so will Rafael now try to do around the outside there as well, and he will do so. But they certainly have lost quite a bit of time, but I'm not sure to how much use that is, because Finn Geerts will be extending for quite a few more laps on that hard stint, as now Fireblaze pulls to the left hand side of the track to get ahead of Colin as well, and crucially stays within the DRS range. As there goes Mels up the inside, bit of contact between the two, but Mels now ahead of Colin as well. Probably will peel off into the pit lane right now. Yes, he does, as he pulls into the right hand side of the track to make his scheduled pit stop. So the top 3 still need to make the pit stop, all having started on a set of hard tires. Then it's Erik so in the virtual lead of this race, still followed close now by Fireblaze in second. Then Fireblaze will be in P3, Rafael in second, Fireblaze then in P3, then Mels and Kevin in P5. And Kevin actually is now within this DRS train once again, so that undercut has helped him, but of course with that 3-second time penalty might cost him at the end of the race. Then Hapmil just outside DRS range behind him in P9, followed closely by Kick, and Sasha has lost quite a bit of time as well in the Ferrari, because he is 2.3 seconds behind Kick, with Lucas and Octavia there as well, and they need to try and bridge that gap to get themselves back into the DRS train and to fight again for a potential podium position. But Erik and Rafael and Fireblaze and all of them are now caught at the back of Reiki Ju. Let's hope he's not going to get into the way like Colin did there, but I think they're catching him at a right time, because Erik will have to DRS down the main straight, so it should be an easy overtake for the Red Bull driver, as Wessel is going to pull into the pit lane at the end of lap 13, and that is really, really early for a hard runner, because you will have to do 14 laps on the mediums, which is going to be very, very difficult indeed. So I wonder if he's going to be able to make that one stop work, as here comes Erik, should be able to get past the Aston Martin, and he does so, as Sasha sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:20.1, as Erik now ahead of Reiki Ju, who will start to fall behind. Now has got the Ferrari of Rafael right behind, who goes to the outside and should be able to get past him relatively easy. Bit of contact, bit of wheel banging between the two, as Wessel has rejoined down in P15, but really don't know if he's going to be able to make it to the end on that set of mediums.
Be a quiet predicament there for Wessel down at P50. Look at Fireblaze, gets a lovely exit, but he needs to get past. Oh yeah, just a bit tight through there in the first Lesmo. He saw a gap too close, unfortunately, and it shut right in his face. And now he can be so frustrated because he's lost the DRS at the back of Rafael and Erik. That finally gets past him. Fireblaze moves up into P5, and so does Mels Snow. He goes up into P5 as well. Fireblaze up into P4, and Rafael and Erik have been left alone in this race. Look at the gap that Erik and Finn Geerts has got, 19.2 seconds. That is quite handy. And if the gap's just like that, Erik needs to bring this gap down, because he's lost a lot of time to drop behind the people on the old set of the mini compound tyres as well. So that is actually quite a handy gap Finn Geerts has got. And once he makes his pit stop, he'll be rapid. Kevin Sonnenberg has got past the Aston Martin, now goes up into P6, but Fireblaze is in a net P3, but he's under massive pressure from his teammate right behind him. Here comes the DRS wide open for Miles Marquez. He lost the place due to an undercut, but here he comes then. He goes wheel to wheel with his teammate, and he goes up into P4 ahead of Fireblaze, and Fireblaze has given up that place as well, because he lost the DRS towards Rafael and Erik. That's the problem you suffer when you reach... Oh, Jason's been retired in the pit lane, I think. Yes, he has. So no safety car will be deployed on that occasion. But if a safety car does be deployed, that means Finn Hertz will be a very happy Dutchman indeed, as he can transpire over to the mini compound tyres, take them towards the end, and have the race into his hands as well. But Eric is bringing the gap down now bit by bit as well, which he needs to do on the stint before Finn Hertz finally switches over to the mini compound tyres. But what I was going to say was that Kick and Lucas have just lost so much time as well. They just don't seem to have the race pace. Maybe running a higher downforce setup and therefore losing time on the straights as well, because Kick and Lucas have been looking very sluggish in this race. Lucas is outside the DRS range of anybody. Octavia is right behind as well, so you don't really see Octavia racing with the likes of Lucas. No offense to him, of course, but Lucas there in P11 is struggling. Olai is going up into P11 ahead. Oh, the side-by-side there in a scar we go. Olai goes off the track. There's contact. Vessel gets a penalty. Vessel's right behind them both. Olai goes off the track, but here comes Vessel. The Racing Bull defends against the Sauber there as we head down towards the back straight we go. Quite a big tussle going on here in this midfield. Vessel is on the new mini compound tyres, so he's trying to make up ground on those newer mini compound tyres, because that's a long way to go on these mini compound tyres at this stage. Fireblades is right behind his teammate Miles Marquez. They both places once again as Fireblades goes up into P4. I think they traded DRS, these two, to try and get themselves close towards Rafa and Eric as well. That's probably why these two are letting each other go so easily as well. And Vessel gets past Octavia. He goes up into P11. Does he? He goes over the curves. Oh, big bounce over the curves there for Vessel too. So not doing his suspension any favours at all on his floor. But luckily this damage simulation is not that realistic. But here comes Olai now side by side. The Racing Ball cuts him off. That's Octavia, and Olai is so frustrated to go down the inside. There's going to be contact for sure between those two. And in the background, Sasha going, look at through goes, oh, more contact. And Vessel goes through. These two were side by side and end up tangling too, and Vessel was able to take them both on the same time as well, so that's worked favours for Vessel too. He goes up into P11. The Dutchman will be absolutely relieved of that, and now he can finally pull away. But look at Sasha Plays now. Sasha Plays also benefits from Octavia on Olai in P13 to P14. But remember what happened last week? It was Olai, no, it wasn't Olai, sorry, it was Octavia, and I think it was Reiki Yu, the people that caused safety car, and hopefully they don't do that this time. Hopefully they behave this time and don't do anything stupid like they did last time. But Eric, the gap is 40.9 now, so he's taking a lot of time out of Finn Hertz's advantage, bit by bit in this race, as we see now the DRS on the main straight we go. Miles Mackis right behind his teammate. These two are just trading places once again, trying to catapult each other along the order and see if they can bring the DRS gap down between Rafael and Miles Mackis. Just Sasha should I say, goes up into P8 ahead of Kick. Kick is still there in that DRS train, but he's lost a lot of places. I think he did start down in P4, yes he did. So he started P4 and now he's dropped into P9. He's just lacking places. He lost the DRS at the early stages, which meant Miles Mackis overtook him and the guys overtook him too. But how longer is Finn Hertz going to extend his stint? And the question is though, when he goes over to the mini compound tyres, can he bring that gap down? Can he fight these guys on his new mini compound tyres? Because that's the problem sometimes. The hards to mediums is not the best way to go. Usually, in my opinion, or in my preferential vision, you want to get the medium compound tyres out the way, and the hard compound tyres are the best way to go because they're so durable and so grippy as well. One of the best race tyres indeed. But the medium compound tyres, Kevin Sundberg picked up another 3-second penalty as well, so it's not going well for Kevin Sundberg at all in P6. But my question's answered because Finn Hertz has pitted then at the end of lap 17. There is 10 laps left to go. Milan, can Finn Hertz get those places back and get the podium win?
We'll see where he is going to come out. He's going to have to do a lot of overtaking in this second stint as he teleports to the pit lane there. He's going to come out between the two Williams drivers in clean air as well, as the two Mercedes drivers once again swap position. But he comes out in P9 ahead of Lucas, Sasha Place and Vessel on that train. But a couple of seconds behind Kick in the Williams, who has once again dropped outside. And in the background, that is Octavia flying out of the race. And the VSC has been deployed. Not sure what has happened between himself and Olai only, but and someone has stopped. That is Vessel who has stopped. And it's a full safety car. Full safety car has been deployed. And, well, I think that might be due to the fact that Vessel and Olai already stopped on track there purposely to try and get a safety car. That's not what we want to see, of course. And that is so incredibly bad news for Finn Geerts, who just made his pit stop. If he waited one more lap, he would have come out back into the lead on a random set of mediums, but of course then everyone else behind him would make that pit stop as well. So I think he's still going to be leading this race, and if everyone else ahead of him makes that pit stop. But so unfortunate to once again see an unnecessary safety car determine the outcome. Well, not necessarily the outcome of this race, but the second half of this race in this case. Just very unnecessary indeed, and not what we want to see. But we'll have to deal with it. We got 10 laps to go after this one. We'll see if everyone at the front is going to make the pit stop to go for the mediums. Erik is going to pull into the pit lane. Rafael is going to pull into the pit lane. So as Fireblaze, Mels is leaving a gap towards his teamer, but I think he's still going to lose that time as Kevin is looking to try and overtake into the pit lane as well. But everyone makes their pit stop then. So Finn Geerts should be back into the lead. But, well, actually it might be a little bit more of a positive for him then, because he doesn't need to fight and get himself back in that position. But the disadvantage that he has is that everyone behind him will be on the same set of tires. So he's not going to have a tire advantage in the second stint. But look at that, the entire field into the pit lane for a brand new set of mediums. It looks, how much time has Mels lost with that double stack? He's behind Kevin, Kik and Hapmeal now. So he's come out on P8. So he's lost quite a bit of positions with that, but not too much then. So Finn Geerts now back in the lead of this race. It's gonna produce quite a spicy final 10 laps, that is for sure. With Erik, Rafael and Fireblaze, everyone is going to be back in contention in this DRS strain for these final 10 laps on a brand new set of mediums. Although as I say brand new set of mediums, the entire field has almost split to a brand new set of hards, because they probably all went for the harder tire allocation, so they don't have a second set of mediums. So everyone is on a brand new set of hards apart from Finn Geerts in the lead, and Wessel, Rick2 and Colin. So what Finn Geerts will need to do at the safety car restart is try and build the gap immediately, because his tires will be the best. He's going to have the tire advantage for a couple of laps at the safety car restart, but he might struggle a little bit towards the end. But of course with 10 laps he should still be fine, but he needs to try and build that gap. If he doesn't, then he is going to be under massive pressure once this once we arrive at the final couple of laps in this race.
Situation would Finn Geerts rather be in? Catching up to these guys and overtaking on the new safety car pod tyres, considering he wasn't too far behind, or this situation where the guys behind are right behind him on a new set of hardcore pod tyres while he's on the safety car pod tyres. Yes, A will be quicker in a couple of laps, or depends if Erik could stick at the back of him and keep within his DRS range. But like you said, every single driver, barring a few, have chosen the harder allocation because it's just better. Hardcore pod tyres, the better race tire. That's what you always want to do. Medium, hard, or hard, medium, whatever you want to do in the race strategies. You always got to include a safety car every single time as well. Sometimes you can't predict when the safety car comes out. It will work in your favour or disadvantage you massively. But what has it done for Finn Geerts' race? Has it put him an advantage? Yes, he's leading. He's got track position, but towards the end, how will those mini compound tyres do towards the end of the race? Will they start to suffer a little bit too? And therefore the pendulum might swing back towards Erik's way. Rafael too. Do you know what? Rafael's done a mega job so far. He's been controlling the pace, his own race beautifully on his debut. He's been running around in P2 and P3 majority of the race, even first place at one point as well. So a mega job so far for Rafael in P3. Fireblaze is trying to get on the podium, but unlucky to Mels Marcus, you know, the Mercedes, it's just it's out of control really. It's a factor you can't control at all. It's a variable that you don't include either. So that double stack has really hurt him, and he's dropped into P8. Nothing he could do. It's not his fault at all, and it's one of the things in racing. Unfortunately, you're going to suffer, and yeah, that's what happens when the safety car comes out. It can make or break your race indeed. But Kevin Zuckerberg now up into P5 in the Alpine. We've seen Hapmeal and Mels Marcus there swap places. Marcus and Hapmeal did a big fight back in the Australia Grand Prix, didn't they? And they came to blows, those two, so hopefully nothing happens between those two. Hapmeal doesn't have the pace to win this race, unfortunately, so one of those races where Hapmeal just has to settle for some points instead of fighting for a podium and a race win. Kik has been promoted up into P6. Does he have any pace left in the Williams? He hasn't been looking very strong so far there. He looks like a midfield driver, but a safety car is ended this lap then, and we can get racing once again. The safety car, well, pretty much ended very late. And let's see when Finn Geerts decides to pull the trigger on the safety car restart. Let's see that. Oh, the pack is so bunched up. There's an overtake, an illegal overtake. What's going on here? Drivers absolutely everywhere. This driver's off the track, pushing each other. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. But we're going down in towards turn one we go. Have the drivers sort themselves. And there's Vest on the inside. Oh, there's contact. Kevin Zuckerberg is in a half spin. Major contact. I'm not quite sure what on earth is going on here. But Fireblaze is up into P3 somehow. He has managed to get past Rafael, so all the drivers here are misbehaving, unfortunately, here in this safety car restart. They're overtaking each other before the safety car comes in or when Finn Hurst decides to go. So every single driver ignoring the rule there, overtaking under yellow flags indeed, and not behaved themselves. Miles Backus has been shoved into P10. Miles Backus in the wall, and he's spun out too, so that's his race done and dusted, unfortunately for him. He was running a good race, but that's what happens in SDN. Sometimes you forget that you're in SDN, and things like this do happen indeed. But now, Finn Hurst leads this race ahead of Eric. Fireblades into P3. I have no idea how Fireblades overtook Rafał. I hope it was a clean move indeed. I'm not quite sure if Rafał got pushed down the order due to the people behind him or not. Vessel is up into P6, so I'm not quite sure how on earth he got up there either. He's on a brand new set of mini compound tyres, and there is Sasha right behind too. And Vessel as well on a new set of mini compound tyres could be a massive threat towards the end of this race too. Another driver that did the hard medium strategy for him indeed. And he's running in P6. DRS now is enabled. Finn Hurst still leads this race, but Eric, this is a massive headache for him.
Oh my god.
What's happened?
There was contact between Ricky and Happy Meal as they both collided. Their wheels hooked and they both crashed into the pit entry. Happy Meal with a forced pit stop, now retires from race as well. And it was Ricky who crashed in the pit entry. He finds himself now with a broken front ring. Absolute carnage at the safety car restart. That reminded me a bit of Mugello back in 2020 when it was Valtteri Bottas leading the restart, and he waited until the very last moment and drivers behind him thought they were already going again, and then they all crashed into each other, similar to what we just seen at this restart also in Italy. But yeah, at the front it has remained clean for Finn, Eric and Fireblades and Rafał at least, but then behind it was absolute carnage. Kevin in P5, but we know he's got a 6 seconds worth of time penalties. Following him is Sasha in the Ferrari, then Vessel, who's done quite a good job from 19th on the grid, but he himself has also got a 3-second time penalty, so he will lose out towards the very end of this race. Then Kik in P8, and then it's a gap towards Olijvoli, who was finding himself in all sorts of trouble, not only before the safety car, but after restart as well, with multiple drivers, as that is Mills in the background going off at Ascari and causing another virtual safety car in the process. Luckily it's not a full safety car though, but we are going to neutralize this race once more. Look how close it was between Finn and Erik as they were almost side by side, but not quite. We're on lap 22 of 27, 6 laps remaining in this race. These drivers need to pay attention at the safety car VSC restarts. You really cannot afford to pick up a drive-through penalty. Better be safe than sorry, because there's still a few racing laps remaining, and you can maybe lose a couple of tenths of a second, but you definitely don't want to sacrifice that for a drive-through penalty indeed. But we go back to green flag racing, nobody picking up a drive-through penalty, but Erik is all over the back now of Finn Geerts, who's now on 5 lap old mediums. Of course, a few of those laps were run under safety car conditions, so he should still have the tire advantage, but for how much longer? That VC certainly helped him, at least with recharging the battery and saving his tires a little bit more. But DRS immediately back activated, and the Red Bull driver behind him will open it, but he's not quite close enough to make a move to get ahead of the Haas driver. Then Fireblades in P3, finding himself somehow in a podium position, and doing quite well indeed. And if those two ahead of him collide in some way, Fireblades might find himself in a very handy position. Rafał in P4 just waiting his time patiently before he attacks in these final couple of laps, and Kevin Sonnenberg once again finds himself struggling, just staying within DRS range now of the top 4. But here comes Erik with the help of Slipstream, ERS and DRS, and he is going to go back into the lead of this race. Finn Geerts drops to second, but Erik will lead this race with 5 laps to go. But I reckon it's not going to be over yet between these two, as they might be swapping around each and every single lap, or Finn Geerts will just try and stay behind until the very last lap to try and re-overtake. You don't want to be leading going on to the final lap, because there's multiple overtaking opportunities on that final lap. And when you're the one who doesn't have the DRS, it is going to get quite tricky indeed. But Erik now in a very good position and trying to build a gap towards Finn Geerts. Of course, those hearts will eventually get quicker, as that is Mills playing around with a broken front wing after he got involved in some sort of incident at the safety car restart. But that's a 7.5 gap now between Erik and Finn Geerts. But Finn Geerts does have the DRS, so he will be able to close that gap once more. But we will have 4 laps of racing after this. Who is going to win this race, as Kik and Vessel are switching positions. Vessel also starting to struggle now on the mediums, but Kik is not within DRS range, so it's the top 6 fighting it out for the race win, and Erik has almost broken DRS now ahead of Finn Geerts.
this surely now is the race for Eric to win because he's got the pace and looks like Finn Hertz already is struggling on these mini compound tyres, so it's not done him any favours. Maybe the strategy before the safety car came out was the one for him, but unfortunately the safety car's ruined it. And then look at Raphael right behind Fireblaze. Fireblaze doesn't put up defence. Now I do want to mention something. I looked back at the stream to see what happened to Raphael, and I think Raphael got hit at turn 1. He did get hit by somebody, but I can't figure out who it was. I can't figure out if it was Kevin Zunderberg or Fireblaze who hit him. So it could be Fireblaze, and that's why Fireblaze let him back through. So that's good gesture there for Fireblaze if he did hit him, because that was unfair. I think Raphael did nothing wrong. He was on the racing line. There was nobody alongside him. Somebody behind him clouted into the back of him, put him offline, almost sent him to a spin, and that's why Raphael lost the place too. So I'm very happy that he's back in P3 now, because if he didn't finish P3 due to that, then that's just undeserved and unfair, because he deserves a podium. He's had mega pace in this race. He's kept up at the front all the whole time, and he had a really good time in qualifying as well. So it's been a spectacular debut for Raphael, and he hasn't put a foot wrong so far. He hasn't really shown anything wrong in this race either. But Finn Hertz is right there back at Eric. Then the two Dutchmen going for the win, their second win of the season. Well, Eric's won before back in the British GP, and Finn Hertz has won in Austria too. So these drivers already have a win to their name this season. But which one of these two will get their second win of the season, I wonder? It is Finn Hertz versus Eric, as Raphael's right behind. Maybe Raphael could make an influence of this as well if he's close enough. But Fireblaze did a very good job to let him back through, because I think Fireblaze knew he was wrong and therefore let him go. We know Fireblaze is a good sportsmanship in general. We know that when he makes mistakes or anything, he does let the people go and give back the place as well, and that's exactly what he's done. So now they can fight cleanly again. They're on a level playing field, because Raphael could have reported Fireblaze for what he did down towards turn 1, but given he gave the place back, I don't think a report will be necessary now, given him the place is back up into P3 as well. So he's back where he was with Raphael, up into P3, but now let's see if he makes an influence in this race. Can Finn Hertz, with his aging old mini compound tyres in P2, try sticking the back at Eric, because he almost lost the DRS at one point, but he's losing the DRS now because he's 8 tenths behind. Eric seems like he gets spectacular good results out, good exits out of corners. Well, the traction seems insane for Eric as well, and Finn Hertz is desperately trying to hang on to the DRS range of Eric P1. He's almost out of it, as Oleg and Lucas go side by side in the second lesson. Oleg gets ahead of Lucas for the time being. They're fighting over P9 and P10 in this race. Only 12 people left in this race due to that carnage we had at the safety car restart. That safety car came about Octavia, thankfully. Thank you to him again, after he did the exact same thing back in the British GP. So somebody needs to tell Octavia not to do that ever again. But yeah, like you said, Mugello, when that happened in 2020, and what a race that was as well, because Verstappen, Gasly and Grosjean crashed on the first lap of the race in Mugello. Then the safety car came out again. I'm not quite sure why it came out again, but I definitely know that everybody just, the second half of the season, second half of the grid, like I think it was Latifi, Magnussen, Carlos Sainz as well, Kevin, I said Magnussen already, I can't remember who it was. There was loads of drivers involved. Romain Grosjean somehow avoided it after he was at the back of the field, and he managed to escape it as well. But I swear Grosjean crashed in Mugello, I'm not quite sure. I think he went off the track in turn number 3, then he went back on it again. But look at this, Finn Hertz is right behind Eric for the lead of the Grand Prix, so he keeps dipping out DRS all the time. It seems like he's got a good straight line speed, but in the corners he seems to be suffering, because those mini compound tyres aren't generating that grip for him to get close in the corners. But it seems like he's still on the prowl, still hunting down Eric. Can Finn Hertz get his first win of the season since the Austrian Grand Prix? The man that's a Haas reserve driver is doing a mega job so far, keeping the pressure on, not losing the time against Eric on those better hard compound tyres. But we're moving on to the final lap of the race, Milan. Can Finn Hertz get the win? Can Eric defend from him?
The gap is 5 tenths of a second. Eric is burning a little bit of battery to try and maintain this gap. He's got an ERS advantage as well going on to the final lap, so that is definitely going to help him in his defense. But will Finn Hertz be able to get close enough with these older medium tires? He's 6 tenths of a second away. Normally that's not quite close enough to make him move, as he's burning his entire battery to try and get close, but he's nowhere near close enough to make any sort of lunge in towards turn 1. So Eric at the moment is safe in P1. He just needs to hold on to that race lead down the back straights as well, where Finn Hertz will have to DRS once again. But we've seen on previous lap how strong Eric is after that second chicane and through the Lesmos, so he should be able to make it through comfortably, as long as he doesn't get himself a 3-second time penalty, of course. For track limits, always have to be mindful of that. A bit of a moment there for Finn Hertz, is really pushing on this final lap. The gap's 4 tenths of a second, but he's just a little bit too far behind, really, I think, to have any chance of winning this race. Sliding out once again out of Lesman 2. Once again, the gap 7.5 tenths, and he will have to look more backwards rather than forwards, I think, as Rafael starts to put the pressure on. So Erik has successfully defended on this last lap, making it through Ascari cleanly as well. And what can Rafael do? He's got an ERS advantage over Finn Geerts as he is closing that gap towards the Haas driver, towards the final corner we will go. It's going to be a fight for second place rather than first place. And there's contact between the two, and they both spun around. Finn Geerts and Rafael collide as Erik is going to cross the line to win the Monza Grand Prix and extend his championship lead. But what a moment in the final couple of corners, and Fireblaze finishes on the podium in second place. Somehow Rafael still comes out on the podium in P3. But that was a bit of a sketchy move with Finn Geerts. Not quite sure whose fault it was. Rafael tried to send one up the inside, but Finn Geerts also turned in quite aggressively, so we'll have to see about that after the race. But Finn Geerts retiring in frustration after leading up until the very last few laps. He was in control for the majority of this race, but that safety car really shaped things up, and unfortunately finds himself with 0 points. But Erik, he wins here in Monza like he's done 2 seasons ago to claim his first win, and what a way to do so and to extend his championship lead. Sasha does get in a position though to finish in P4, but still quite a nice point haul for Erik in the championship. Kick in P5, Kevin in P6, pretty much invisible all race long. Wessel in 7th place from 19th on the grid, great comeback drive from him. Olijvoli in P8 after causing all sorts of carnage. Lucas in P9, really invisible since the second still race as well. And Colin in the Haas finds himself in the top 10 to score points, score a point for Haas, but it should have been many more with Finn Geerts and with that moment in the final corner. Well, what's your opinion on that?
It's just happened so fast. Rafael tried to go for a gap down the inside that was there. Finn Geerts tried to turn him very sharply and abruptly to go cover him off, but I think he should have left more space because he was there on the inside. I've seen it before, and it's happened to me as well before in the past, so some people have tried to make a move down the inside in towards that corner and hasn't paid off. But, well, Fireblaze, you thought all race long, mate, that the podium was out of the question. You thought, oh, I'm in P4 now, I'm going to settle in. So we did see, I saw what happened down in towards turn 1 at the safety car restart. Did you hit the back of Rafael to let him go again because you knew you hit him and therefore you want to be a good sportsmanship and let him go again?
Yeah, that was basically it. I felt really bad, but I didn't want to lose the DRS to the front guys because then I would also be disadvantaging him as well in a way. So yeah, I just tried to stick with them and try and then give it back afterwards, which I was able to do luckily.
I think you were very smart as well, giving a... Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, there, go.
I think you were very smart as well. Let's go back through. I just read the chat. Sorry, that's why I was laughing. But you were very smart. Let's him back through like the way you did it because you were able to keep DRS on the back of him, whilst Rafael kept the DRS on the back of Finn Geerts and Erik. Because if you slow down too much, therefore the top two will pulled away, and therefore you don't have the advantage back. So you did it in a very smart way indeed. But yeah. P2 again, it's another podium since the British GP as well, so you're slowly but surely getting these results and creeping up the order. I know I said this last week, but you're just taking it one race at a time, aren't you, and just seeing what you could do in these races, because it always seems like you're at the back of these DRS trades just sitting there patiently and not doing anything whatsoever, but somehow, some way, you just get yourself back up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's also down to my quality pace, of course. I need to work on that still. You know, it's been an issue for me for quite a while, but it just means that I'm way further down the grid, which also means that even if my race pace is quite similar to the front-running guys, I still need to make it through the traffic, which is kind of a bit difficult if you don't have a pace advantage or are just able to hang on. But yeah.
And I bet you must have been relieved as well because the safety car came out and you just overtook your teammate too because the two of you were swapping places. And was the reason why you two swapped places was because you lost the DRS towards the guys in front, so you two had to swap DRS all the time to get yourself back in the DRS train?
Yeah, that was basically what we were trying, just letting the person behind recharge a bit, but yeah. I was unable to really recharge the battery because Mels was quite quick, but yeah, he was just unfortunate to be behind me when the safety car hit.
Thank you very much, mate. Well done on P2 today. And Milan, you got any questions for Fire, please?
Just want to ask her because she had a nice view of that going on to the final quarter, the final lap. Did you really see what happened between Finn and Rafael? Do you have a view on that?
I kind of saw a little bit. I just saw them making a bit of contact going into the corner, and then when I passed them, I was just quite joyous, of course, because 2 free positions at the end of the race. You know, I'll take it.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, well done then on your podium. So great drive indeed.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got one more question for Fireblaze as well. Fireblaze, it is Mexico next week, and I know you're pretty handy when it comes to Mexico because you have won races in different leagues there too, and repetitively too. So, do you think that Mexico will be a strong track for you? Do you think that you can get yourself along the order and amongst the mix again? Because the last win for you in this league was at the Japanese Grand Prix against Hapmil. So, do you think that there could be a potential win on your hands next week on Friday? Do you think?
Maybe if Erik makes a mistake for a week because he's been on a roll as well.
Well, thank you very much. And what do you think about the Australian Grand Prix this weekend? I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be a bit shocking, to be fair, because I've seen like the Williams drop like 50 kph at the end of the straight, which is quite insane to me. But
yeah, that's about 34 miles per hour. Yeah, that's a lot of time speed on the straight. But who do you think is going to win? What's your predictions?
I think it's going to be a Merc 1-2, to be fair. I think they're going to be extremely dominant. But I think it will be Russell.
Do you think? I think so as well. I think it's going to be like Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli. That's my predictions. I don't think Verstappen's going to get... I don't know, maybe Verstappen will or not, but I don't think Verstappen could be anywhere in the top, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the car's not up to it. But yeah.
Milan, back to you, mate.
To be honest, I haven't really watched any of the practice sessions, but I do know that Mercedes is quite quick and might be not showing all of their pace yet. So I definitely think there's going to be up there, and Russell has a great chance of winning this race. I'm not sure what the McLarens are doing either, but I hope it's going to be a good fight. I hope it's not going to be an absolute, dreadful event with all sorts of issues left, right, and center, because it's definitely these new regulations have brought some issues. That is for sure. So hope to see a good race at least. But I definitely think it's the Mercedes who are at the moment the team to beat.
I was giving it to you so you can end the stream.
Yeah, but I want to give my opinion on this weekend as well. But yeah, to the end of the stream, it was another eventful race. That is for sure. Maybe not in the way you would have wanted to see after that safety car came out halfway through the race. But in the end, Erik coming out on top, extending his championship lead by a couple of more points and doing everything he needs to do to put a one hand on that championship trophy. But it's still got a long way to go this season. We're only halfway through it. But next week we will return at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for round 8 of the season at Mexico. I certainly enjoyed this race to commentate alongside you, James. So thank you very much, as always, being alongside me. And I sure hope we'll be back next week for another great event.
It's usually me saying that, but yeah, all the way around this time. Yeah, like I always say every single stream, wherever we are, it's always a pleasure to be alongside you, and I thoroughly enjoy every single race, no matter where we are, no matter what league it is, no matter what situational race we have thrown at us. I really do enjoy it, mate. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for everything, mate. I appreciate it.
Thank you as well. So we'll see you guys next week, and enjoy.